ever found yourself crying at a commercial or even at a movie or TV show that's maybe not even sentimental? Well, it could be just some of the big emotions that come as part of being someone with ADHD. But it could also be some delayed grief. And grief is an interesting subject for those of us who have ADHD. And that's what we're going to talk about this week. We're going to do 5 full episodes on this, so I'm pretty excited. My name is Christine Dunning. I am a Master Certified Life Coach and the host of this podcast, A Solo Person's Guide to ADHD, and the owner of Two Cats Coaching. And again, today, we're going to dive into this grief narrative. Today, we're simply going about what is grief and how do I know I feel it? And I've brought along a friend. Actually, this was Stacy's suggestion when I told her I wanted to start a podcast. She said, I know what we should do. How many times in our lives have we said that?
Oh, quite a few.
Quite a few. I think we've been friends, 15, 20 years now at least.
And creative sparks
yes,
all the time.
So I'll let her talk a little bit about herself, but I'll introduce her too. We started off as musicians. We both met because we were teaching. You called a studio to see if there was work, and I happened to be the person to answer the phone, even though it wasn't my studio. I was just working there. Yes. And I said, oh yeah, we've got room for somebody else. And we just instantly became friends. You had just moved to Colorado.
Yes.
I hadn't been here very long. And then we both found ourselves doing church music, and your church music led you to...
Yes. So church music, and then as a fellow late diagnosed ADHDer in my 40s, I was diagnosed. It's taken me a while to find my path, and I've found it. I am now a hospice chaplain. I spent some time in seminary and love the work, can do it and show up and be present. And as ADHDers, one of our gifts can be hyper focus and presence. And that's a place where I really feel like I am able to be doing my work.
Yeah. You know, I know when you said that it was something you were considering it and considering being a hospice chaplain, and I went, oh, that's such a good thing for you. That would be the total culmination of your skills.
Yes.
And I think it really is.
Yes. And bringing music in and all sorts of different things. And so
awesome.
Yes.
Well, so let's just go ahead and dive in. And as we do this, we will, being two people with ADHD, it's going to be messy. We're going to go back and forth a little bit as we find ourselves in this subject. It's the first time I've done this conversational / interview style. So how do you personally define grief? I mean, this is what you do for a living.
Yes.
Both as a chaplain and as somebody who's experienced it, I know you have pretty profoundly.
Yes.
And of course, as somebody who has ADHD.
Yeah. Well, it's normal and a natural part of life, and it's this emotional reaction and response to loss of any kind, whether it's loss of a loved one, or loss of a job, or loss of a relationship. All sorts of. We'll go into more detail on the different kinds of losses, but it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It really, we hear sometimes that these are the stages of grief, or this is that. And they've started to now say, no, this is really it kind of spirals around where we might not hit all those stages. We'll have our own way of defining that and our own way that this occurs. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. But it's what you feel inside and what you think, and after someone dies, or after you have, something you've been very attached to has gone away. If you're just newly retired, any of those things, I think. So it's this instinctive human response to loss.
I love that. I think one of the things about people with ADHD is that, again, that those 5 stages of grief are fairly well known, I think, in society. And people with ADHD, like a lot of things we do, they're messy. We don't do them in order. Mm-hmm. We keep bouncing back and forth. I love this concept of a wheel. Can you say more about that?
Yes, kind of. Well, and even a spiral like that. We
Okay.
spiral around those things, and
Yeah, I see you've got a document.
yes, I've got a
We can show that to the
grief,
camera if you
a
want.
grief wheel right here. If we just kind of see some of that,
Nice.
yes, and this basically, you have the loss and there can be some shock, and then we sort of protest this. This hasn't really happened, or it's or I'm angry that it happened, or all these different things where we're resisting that this has happened in our lives, and then we go through this time of disorganization where we just we might be numb, we might be or you might be going into doing endless activities to not, and then you even feel more disorganized again. But then there comes a point, if you're kind of facing all of this and looking at it, where you start reorganizing that, and you come around to the fact that this is how life is going to look. And hopefully you've grown through some of that, and you're beginning to embrace and accept a new way of living and a new life.
Yeah. I love the idea of the circle of you're calling it a spiral. I'm thinking of the circle of life, of course, being the music people we automatically go to the Lion King.
Yes.
But that is true. Death and loss is a part of any and every life. This isn't something that's unique to people with ADHD. It's not unique to people who are single. We all experience it.
Yes.
Do you think people with ADHD do have some different experiences, though?
I do. I think with that, they talk about emotional regulation, and with
Yes.
with those of us with ADHD, it's emotional dysregulation often, and we it's hard to filter things, and there's all sorts of ways, and I think we sometimes feel the grief more, and then maybe numb ourselves or disassociate more from it because of how heavy it feels, and where it might take us, and all the things we feel we maybe need to start doing to handle this grief and this new way of life. If it's a big loss in our lives, there may be some types of things we have to do to, be able to move on. And so I think it can be, it's just another layer of what we kind of already know. Yeah. With our executive functioning not being quite as
quite as acute as we
yes,
would like it to be.
Yes.
So I think that one of the other things that I keep hearing about too is people actually like forgetting that they're grieving, and then it coming back, and it hits you even harder. It's like, oh, I forgot my dad was dead.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with this loss. This is terrible.
Yes.
And so I think that's a really common thing, is that because we have those memory lapses, that just, it's not as consistent as
Absolutely.
it might be for somebody who doesn't have this
Yes,
issue.
it's like this forgetfulness that comes over us, and then and then it can be even more difficult because you're constantly re-engaging with that grief and that sadness and all those emotions again. So
do you think that actually then extends our feeling of grief?
I do.
For a longer time period?
I think it does. And I think that's where I think, I know we'll probably go into more ways we can handle that grief, but it is really important, I think, to just remind yourself, this is where I'm at. This is what's happened. And strangely, it may even be a couple times a day you want to do that in those early stages of grief.
Sure. So, and I think one of the questions is, what does grief look like if it doesn't look like grief? I mean, can it show up in other ways? Just flying off the handle more quickly.
Yes, absolutely.
Feeling emotionally dysregulated and not knowing how to name it.
Yes, and just being absolutely exhausted and not knowing why. I think so too. And being, extra sensitive and not knowing where it comes from.
People with ADHD often have sleep disorders, and I think this certainly probably just expounds that.
Absolutely.
That, you can't sleep, or you're tossing and turning, trying to, remembering things. And then the next day, things are even worse because
Yes.
you're sleep deprived on top of
Exactly.
everything else.
I do think just it's such a challenging thing no matter what grief is. But
Yes.
with those of us with ADHD, I think it taps on those places where we already feel
Yes.
some deficits a little bit. And then shame can come because, oh my gosh, I'm not even remembering this beloved, or I'm not handling this well, and I should do better for that person or for that situation in my life. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to kind of step back and be more gentle with ourselves is huge.
Yeah, that shame spiral is such a big part of saying, well, other people are handling this.
Yes.
Why am I not?
Yes. And one of the myths of grief is that there's one way to do it and we have to do it right. And
Yes.
and as we've been just saying, there's not one way to grieve.
Right.
And you really don't ever totally get over some losses either. It's you incorporate and you integrate and you hopefully grow through it, but not to think that there's this little set, it should be 6 months and then I'm back to work, or 6 months and I'm functioning like I think I should be. It's,
right.
I think not putting those labels on things is one way we especially as ADHDers can help ourselves and grow through it, maybe even a little quicker by not saying this is what,
right.
this is how it should look.
I think that's very true.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm trying to do with my podcast is show the intersection of both ADHD and being single, which I know you're not, but you're
Right.
Stacy's super independent for a married woman.
Yes, and a woman with no kids, no children, and
as neither one of us do.
yes,
But you have a lot of. We were just talking about this. How many of your friends are single and lifelong singles?
yes, more than not.
Yeah. How do you see this interacting even differently for somebody who maybe is unpartnered?
Yes, but I think my friends are very independent, maybe not wanting to ask for help, especially in maybe times of grief. So I think sometimes they seem so independent that maybe even their friends think they've got this, or they've, I think I, as a non-single person, need to really recognize that with my friends. If I can, my solo friends, that I can say, hey, what can I do? How can I help? And really give them the opportunity to receive some support. Because I think we that are not solo, I think we really do kind of overestimate what somebody's able to. I don't think we're meant to go through grief totally alone and saying, I can do this and this is one way. So I think these are the people we actually should think extra about, bringing the casserole or bringing the meal or the phone call or saying, hey,
right.
Can we just go for coffee? And I just want to be a listening ear for you. And what do you need?
I know I told you the story earlier that when my mother passed, it was one of my sister-in-laws who mentioned to me, she said, we're all going to struggle with this. Our mom was quite beloved. And she said, I'm really worried about you because you don't have a partner and you don't have children. All of my other siblings at that point did. And that's a unique challenge for me, not to be able to share my grief at home.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But one of the other things that I'd like to talk about is this fact of community grief. One of the things I'd like to talk today about, too, is the concept of community grief. And full disclosure, we are filming this just a couple of days after the shooting of Charlie Kirk and the shooting at Evergreen High School. And for those who don't know us, we're maybe 25 miles away from Evergreen High School here. I'm a retired teacher. That was the school district I taught in, which, by the way, is the same school district as Columbine. And I'm not sure a lot of people, that's not really been talked about in the press. So here in Colorado, community grief is a real thing, something we're all dealing with now. And I think that's a grief. I just want to touch on this briefly, but to say that this is a grief we don't always talk about is when these big public things happen.
Absolutely. I think, and each of the people that are experiencing some of the grief and the loss of a sense of safety, that's grief.
Yes.
That each of us will experience it differently. So I think, but it's wonderful, I think, when people can bring together kind of a forum where people can share and process together, and so that so people don't feel so alone, and for them to know how are we creating that sense of safety, and that and most days of these people's lives, this isn't a factor.
Right.
And so reminding people of the normal days and the days that aren't like this too is huge. But it's something that I think we as a society, if we can really face that head on and not try to shove that part under the rug or something, because I think it's,
I agree.
It's just not healthy to do that.
So I want to take a second here and just give us a little bit of an overview. So this is the first of 5 episodes we're going to do. And today's just sort of a little bit of an overview, and you can get to know us a little bit. We're also going to talk about the concepts of so grief over the death of a loved one, because that's probably, when you think about the word grief, that's what we think about. We're going to talk about pet grief, because that's a very real thing, and especially for those of us who are solo, who have those fur babies. We're going to talk about the grief of dreams deferred, things that we have lost just in normal life, but also because we're impacted by ADHD. And then our final one, we're going to talk about rituals and things that we can do to help us work through and deal with grief. So if you're looking for some of those kinds of things, look there. So do you have other things that you want to bring up at this point?
There's just a little kind of I wouldn't call this a prayer, but a little statement that I think is kind of a little poem, if I could say this, just in accepting the different ways we grieve. So this is by Lee Horbachutsky. I give myself and others permission to grieve at their own pace, recognizing that all people are different in their journey of healing. I give myself and others grace, acceptance, compassion, and kindness on the grieving journey.
Ooh, I love that. That's great. We'll make sure we publish that down in the show notes so that people can see it. So, I think we have covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. So I just want to say a couple of quick things. A reminder that grief is normal. It's not a flaw. This is how people define the human experience. If you don't process the grief, it's going to process you. It's going to sneak in at a later time. Naming it is a big part of it. So a reminder that here, although Stacy's a chaplain, United Methodist is your background.
Yes,
but I've always thought you have always been to me the spiritual more than dogmatic chaplain.
Yes, and more as chaplains, we are more interfaith, and
right.
Yes,
and so interfaith or no faith, understand you've got a place here. That's fine. All are welcome. And then I did also want to I didn't say this at the beginning, but if you are struggling with grief, if you are reaching out to this because you are deep into a grieving process and you are having problems functioning, please do reach out to a mental professional. If you're in the United States, you can dial certainly 911 or call your doctor. And now there's that new mental health line, 988, which is also specifically in the United States for people who are dealing with mental health issues. Take care of yourself in this process. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much. We're going to take a break and then come back and work on a second episode. But I'm Christine Dunning. This is Two Cats Coaching. And a reminder that you're not alone in this. We're here together in grief and in happiness. So we'll see you next time.